Hey guys, I'm Dr. Spartan, as you know, and I actually got my webcam to work for this episode, so that's good. But today, as you probably know, if you've read the title, which you should have, otherwise I don't know how you got here, but we're doing a review and a slight analysis on the new episode of Season 8, the first episode of Season 8 of Doctor Who, Deep Breath. Now, the episode starts off pretty damn funny, I'm not gonna lie. I had a lot of good laughs with that. Especially when they get into the house and he says, "You have an entire room for not being awoken in?" That line is just... the theater was up with laughter. That's why this, by the way, this is why this episode is a day late, or 2 days late, I guess. Because I didn't go to see it in... I didn't watch it on the broadcast. I went to see it premiere screening in the theater. So, apologies for that. Next week's episode will be at the right time. But, we get a good look into Capaldi's Doctor already in just one episode. We can see that he's still going to have his moments of, you know, funny comedy funniness. Funny comedy funniness, yes, obviously. We also see that he is a much, much darker Doctor than previous incarnations have been. Going as far back as to the first Doctor and even some of the sixth Doctor. For example, when he's fighting with the half-face man, he says how there's a... He says it's not in his programming to self-destruct. The half-face man does. And the Doctor says it's not in mine to murder. After a slight talk, he says, you know, one of us is lying about the programming. It's time we found out which one. After that, it's very heavily implied that he pushed him out of the ship and impaled him on the top of a building. You know, the little pointy thing on the top of the building. You know, it's like that, only it's a lot steeper and on the top of the building. Okay, that was really awful. In addition to that, in the beginning, we do indeed see the T-Rex in London. The dinosaur in London. However, it's not quite an antagonist. It's not really either. I mean, if anything, it would be helpful because the dinosaur spontaneously combusts due to the half-face man, and apparently they needed the part apart from its, I believe it was part of its eye, or something like that. Something in its head was a part that they needed. And, yeah. The Doctor initially thinks that the dinosaur is Clara and tries to speak to it, but... speaking of Clara, what about her in this episode? Well, I didn't like her much in this episode. And that's odd, because I'm not one of those people that says, she's a horrible companion, but I think that she was a little, well, annoying, maybe? A little... She asked a lot of questions. Like, more questions than a 2-year-old would ask. And supposedly 2-year-olds can ask up to 400-something questions per day, so that's saying something. And she does not believe in the Doctor at first. She doesn't... I mean, I understand that it's hard to cope with, you know, somebody who you both were convinced you were in love in some way, shape, or form. And, well, it's just hard to think that a companion would really doubt the Doctor so much as she did. She doubts him so much so that, and this is a huge spoiler, if you've watched up to here, you know this is a spoiler-filled thing, so, yeah. But we get to see Matt Smith make one last cameo, calling Clara at the end as she's trying to walk off and leave the Doctor. And it's a bit of an emotional scene, I'll have to say that. And then the Doctor proclaims, I'm not your boyfriend. Not Matt Smith, Peter Capaldi. Claims, I'm not your boyfriend. She says, I never thought you were. It's a little bit of a heart shot. But then he says, I didn't say you were at fault. Something along those lines. You get the point. He's basically saying that he's the one that thought they were a thing. And then... Well, earlier in the episode, Capaldi does remark that he's seen this face before. It's like, he said, it's like I'm trying to tell myself something. So that's interesting. So already we understand that we're going to get some resolution to how he could be the man in Fires of Pompeii, but he's also now the Doctor. Finally, at the end of the episode, we see... Oh, well, before I get to that, actually, the half-faced man, we find out, and this was a prediction I had after a while that I never did... I kind of stopped doing the trailer analyses, and I do apologize. However, I did have a theory about that half-faced man. I'm going to stop throwing the air quotes around that, because that's literally what they named him. But he was an android, indeed. And I was wondering if maybe they were related to the ones that were in The Girl in the Fireplace. And indeed they were. The diner that they went to, by the way, very clever thing. The diner that they were in, that all these androids were in, and not really eating, they were just trying to, capture more humans by tricking them into walking in, were indeed related to those androids. The diner was actually a ship, a sister ship to the Madame de Pompadour. I forget exactly what its name was, but that's besides the point. It was a sister ship, so they're certainly related. Now, about the diner. See, it's planted in that on one side there's an advert for the Impossible Girl, but on the other side there's an ad for the diner. So Clara believes that the Doctor implanted this into there. However, the Doctor believes that she implanted the ads into the paper. So they were tricked into meeting there, either by the androids, possibly. The Doctor says if it's the same woman that gave you the number to call to get to the TARDIS. I have other theories, such as... I don't have other theories, pardon me. I just tried to think of one and it didn't come through. But, finally, at the very end, we see a woman named Missy. By the way, the entire time the half-faced man is going on about the Promised Land, getting to the Promised Land. And at the end, we see him in a big courtyard with a woman named Missy, and she says, was my boyfriend a bit mean to you? Talking about the Doctor pushing him out of the TARDIS. Now, we have no idea who Missy is. Possible theory is that she's a regeneration of River, because as we know, River has the possibility to regenerate. However, I don't really think that's what it is. I have no idea what it is right now. But, evidently, she's somebody from the Doctor's future, or maybe his past. We get the two confused sometimes. But, I suppose we're going to find out later in the season. And the next episode is Into the Dalek. And before you go, have this picture of me cosplaying as the 10th Doctor, along with a gender-bent 11th Doctor. I thought it might help to add that, first of all, the reason that the episode is called Deep Breath is because the androids, such as the half-faced man, have this thing where they can not detect you if you're not breathing, so they all at some point have to take a deep breath and hope that they don't get detected. Second of all, I forgot to give the episode a score. So the way that, if Lionel does a score out of 6 for the Harmony 6, pardon me stretching, if Lionel does out of 6 for the Harmony 6, then I guess I'm going to have to do a 12 out of my favorite 12. As you know, probably, my favorite Doctor is David Tennant. So, David Tennant would be the highest rating he could get. The lowest rating would be Colin Baker. So, for me, I'd say that this episode was indeed a David Tennant of a premiere, because I liked it. It did exactly what it had to do. So, apologies for ending up sticking this on the end, but what can you do? And no, I'm not capable of talking without flapping my hands about. I'm out. That's it for today. So please remember to leave a like and a favorite if you enjoyed this video, to subscribe for more, and check out my solo channel, which will be linked in the description, for Let's Plays and more. Thank you.